I ran from the UK, if I'm being totally honest with myself. Thought I was enjoying my life and I thought I was having fun, but I knew deep down I was destined for more. So I knew I just had to get out of that environment. And it got to the point where things got a little bit dark for me. And so I knew I had to go and speak to somebody, and that's what I did. And it was an incredible, I booked in with a counsellor, and in the first session I had, we did CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. And from that one session, I was like, so I traded my addictions in the UK for self-mastery.
Talk to us about how you discovered breathwork and why that became a passion for you. Obviously, it's what you do now. You travel around the world, and ironically, you've done events back in the UK as well now. So there's a full circle, I guess, from that. So how do you come to discover breathwork? You know, what's your first exposure to that? Why breathwork out of all of the modalities that you could do to change somebody's life? Why that?
I've become absolutely obsessed and addicted with understanding human beings and myself. And from that, I started doing programs and workshops, attended your workshop. I've been into state, done lots of different qualifications, certifications, and various different therapies and modalities. But I still felt there was something missing. And I then discovered breathwork. What happens, the science behind breathwork is it turns off the prefrontal cortex. You then start to access parts of the brain where we've suppressed emotions, feelings, and past experiences. And then there's no holding back then. They're literally being taken off.
You felt like every cell of your body was on fire, like it was fully activated.
And really all it is just suppressed energy in the body. That's the reality of what we're doing when we do breath, is we're just moving energy through the body using the power of the breath.
Right, we're living in a world of tremendous distraction. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of people that are just in a stressed fight or flight state. And so I could appreciate that with just breath practice, even just being conscious to take a breath. As simple as that sounds, most people don't do that. Like, I imagine a lot of things could be improved in somebody's life by just breathing better and being more deliberate about it.
You know, when I first started this, my goal was so big that I couldn't even track it. And the goal really was to get everybody consciously breathing again. We can start bringing humanity back to a place that's never needed it more than ever right now, to a place of presence, to a place of calm, and come back to love. I think that's a beautiful legacy to be able to bring and leave.
Amazing. Mike, welcome to the show, brother. So excited to have you on the podcast. For those of you who are listening to the call and don't know a bit about who you are and what your work has been, you've really dedicated your life to personal transformation in the space, particularly of breathwork, which is a new space for us at Wild, and it's something I'm so excited about diving into. So tell us a bit about your background and your story and how you came to be in this conversation now, obviously with us, and how you came to get into breathwork in the first place.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll start with how I ended up coming across you. So I've lived in Australia now for 15 years, and quite early on I seen your work. And if you remember, about 7 years ago, I actually attended one of your weekend events with Wild Success, and it was an incredible workshop. And I've always been in alignment with the work that you do, and everything that you bring to the community. It's a big value of mine is community, and seeing what you've done and what you've created is quite inspiring. So that's why I've ended up being in contact for this length of time.
And what were you doing when you came over from the UK? Were you always doing personal transformation? Did you sort of discover breathwork and transformation? Like, how did that journey come about?
So for me, I ran from the UK, if I'm being totally honest with myself. It took me a while to admit that. I had to face that. I feel that at a certain age, when people move from certain countries, I feel like a lot of us are running from something. And when I had that awareness brought to me, I had to sit with that and go, well, what was it I was running from? And for me, I realized that the life that I was living just was not serving me at all. And I just knew I was always destined for more. And I was in that environment. We talk about proximity. Your proximity is either your power or your weakness. And where I was at that moment in my life, it was definitely my weakness. It was the town, I live in a town called Billingham. It's a small town, around 36,000 population in the northeast of England. Are you fully aware of where that is, near Middlesbrough?
Yeah, I'm not surprised you're on.
And so, you know, it's a town where no matter what time of day it is, whatever time of night it is, if you want to go and do something or meet somebody and have a party, you'll do that. And where my mindset was at the time, that's exactly what I was doing. And I thought I was enjoying my life and I thought I was having fun, but I knew deep down I was destined for more. So I knew I just had to get out of that environment.
Yeah, great. And so you come to Australia, and then talk to us about how you discovered breathwork and why that became a passion for you. Obviously, it's what you do now. You travel around the world, and ironically, you've done events back in the UK as well now. So there's a full circle, I guess, from that. So how do you come to discover breathwork? You know, what's your first exposure to that? Why breathwork out of all of the modalities that you could do to change somebody's life? Why that?
There's a few factors in this answer. And the first thing was, when I mentioned there about running, and I had to sit with that. When I did do that, there was a lot of stuff that I'd suppressed for so many years started to come to the surface.
Sure.
And it got to the point where things got a little bit dark for me. And so I knew I had to go and speak to somebody, and that's what I did. And it was an incredible, I booked in with a counselor, and in the first session I had, we did CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yep.
The thought, which then creates a feeling, which then creates the output, the action. And so just from that one session with her, I seen the power in the mind. And so I just arrived in Australia. This is 15 years ago. And from that one session, I was like, if one session can change the way that I think, which ultimately changes the way I feel, which ultimately then started to change the way I was living, I was like, I need to know more. So I traded my addictions in the UK for self-mastery, for human behavior, and I've become absolutely obsessed and addicted with understanding human beings and myself. And from that, I started doing programs and workshops, attended your workshop. I've been interstate, done lots of different qualifications and certifications in various different therapies and modalities. But I still felt there was something missing. And I then discovered breathwork, and that was the missing link.
Right. If I'm new and I don't know what breathwork is, and I go, well, everyone breathes, right? So what's the difference between me just surviving the day and me being intentional with that? Explain it to somebody that has no idea what breathwork is and how that's such a powerful tool for human transformation.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, there's two areas here. There's breath practice and there's breath work.
Okay.
So breath practice is something that we'll do on a daily basis, weekly basis. It's something that we implement as part of our morning routine, maybe a nighttime routine as well. That's the practice that we create. And like any practice, the more we practice, the more we get better at it.
Sure.
So the more we can connect and have a practice with breath, the more that then brings us back to our present self.
Gotcha.
The second thing is, the other part is the breath work, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a workout.
Right.
I know that you've experienced that. I've personally done a hell of a lot of breath work myself, and every single breath work that I do is very, very different, and that's what I love about it. Now, the reason that is such a quality that we can use, and it's there, it's in our pocket the whole time, it's a tool that can be used, is because you don't have to go and speak to anybody. You don't have to book in to see anybody. You can take yourself away in your own home, in a room, and you can lay on your back and you can breathe. And the beauty of that is, what happens, the science behind breathwork is it turns off the prefrontal cortex, it turns off the default mode network in the brain, and it allows us then to come out of the ego, which has got a beautiful job that keeps us safe, and it doesn't want us to feel pain and suffering and past emotions, and that flicks the switch if you really allow yourself to go into the breath. And when that switch is flicked, you then start to access parts of the brain where we've suppressed emotions, feelings, and past experiences.
Right.
And then there's no holding back then, the lid's been taken off.
Wow. Well, I no one had ever described that to me before about having breath work and a breath practice, but that makes a lot of sense. And so effectively a breath practice would be similar to or akin to somebody perhaps doing like a meditation process that maybe factor that in. And I know breath's a good an important part of that, or maybe you people have somebody has a habit or a routine of going for a walk on a daily basis. It's just something that you factor into the quality of your life for overall general well-being. It's not necessarily designed to be a breakthrough experience as much as the breath work is. The breath work is perhaps more intensive. Is that probably a good reference point for it?
Exactly that, yeah. And you made a very good valid point there, is that it doesn't have to be sat in a meditation cushion with your eyes closed in a meditation pause. It doesn't have to be that. That's amazing as well, but it can be on your morning walk.
Sure.
It can be in the car. It can be when you're driving to work. It can be, the more present we can be with the breath, of course, but we appreciate people have busy lives. But as long as you can connect with that breath on the inhale and the exhale whilst you're walking, whilst you're doing something, and then that for me is part of building a breath practice.
Yeah, gotcha. Now in NLP, as you know, we have a series of different tools and techniques depending on different problems. Is it fair to say that in breathwork there's the equivalent, that you would have different breathwork protocols or practices? I'm not familiar with the language, but the idea that would be able to help people unlock and break through certain paradigms. Is that the case? Like there's different references for that?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got various different methods and modalities of how you can do this. And so many different people are now coming to the forefront and coining their own ways too. The reality is this has been around for centuries, been around for thousands of years. We go back to pranayama and the yogic teachings. But now, things have been changed, which is awesome because different breaths do stimulate different things.
Yes.
And what I always invite my clients to do and people that I work with is that find the breath practice or the breath work that works for you.
Yes.
Holotropic, it could be lighter, it could be more gentle, it could be more powerful. I tend to mostly do conscious connected breathing.
Okay.
It's like a nice circular breath. So it's, we imagine the circle of life. So the inhale is half the circle and the exhale is the other half of the circle.
Nice.
And it's just a nice flow, circular flow.
Great. Amazing. sensational. We did a session, and I'm not sure exactly what we did, but it was phenomenal. Like I remember I was lying down in my office, and you're in Europe at this point in time, and I'm in Australia. We're doing this via Zoom, and it was an amazing session in the fact of how powerful technology is. And I think this is a great part of what you teach. It's you can do it in seminars and programs and retreats like you have all over the world, and obviously in person, I imagine it's phenomenal. But it was just as powerful for me lying in the office when you were in Europe, right? But I remember I left the session having just gone through and followed your instructions, and there was it was almost like there was an electricity in my hands and my feet, right? It was just amazing. Is that a common experience? Like what is that? I've had that experience once or twice before, not necessarily through breathwork, but it was really quite like you felt like every cell of your body was on fire, like it was fully activated, perhaps for the first time. Is that me? Should I go get checked, or is that to be expected? What is? Give me some insights of what that is.
Yeah, and again, for every single breathwork you do is so different to the next. Like I've been doing this now over 7 years, and there's never been one same breathwork to the next. Every single one's different. And so on the back of that, everybody's experience is also different.
Yes.
Some people have physical experiences, some people have emotional, some people have real cognitive clarity that comes through, and people have spiritual experiences too, where they connect with people that have passed and they have visuals.
Wow.
It really covers all foundations of the human being and the soul. And in terms of you, that is a very common thing. I've had one guy come through to my session, and 2 days later, this was over the 2 days, he's messaging me, he's calling me, Mike, can we jump on a call again? Sure. And he's like, look, my body's still shaking. And I was able to help and support him through that as much as he needed, because I also went through something very similar from my first experience too. And really all it is just suppressed energy in the body. Yeah. That's the reality of what we're doing when we do breath, is we're just moving energy through the body using the power of the breath.
Amazing. Talk to me a bit about how, I could imagine that for majority of people that have mental challenges at the moment, whether that be mental illnesses or just mental distress and strain, right? We're living in a world of tremendous distraction. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of people that are just in a stressed fight or flight state. And so I could appreciate that with just breath practice, even just being conscious to take a breath. As simple as that sounds, most people don't do that, right? Like if you look at most people, they're running around and their energy is very high in the chest. They're not really taking a deep breath. Most people are not exercising, as an example, which encourages you to take deeper breaths. So what's the science, what's your knowledge or understanding around the impact that low oxygenation has when it comes to somebody's actual general brain health? Like I imagine a lot of things could be improved in somebody's life by just breathing better and being more deliberate about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Becoming more present and conscious with every breath. Yeah. That's the key. Now, there's a few aspects of what you've spoken on. The first thing is that's what breath practice is so important for. I would highly recommend everybody, regardless of what they're going through, and especially those people who are in that mindset or in overwhelm or stress or struggling with the mental health, is create a very simple breath practice. I can share mine with me later in the podcast. That I like to do on a daily basis before I even get out of bed. Yeah, great. It's a very simple one. And the second thing really is a breath practice over a breath work. If you're already in that fight or flight, which is what you've explained, people who are already breathing at a rapid pace, most of the world are dysfunctional breathers. Yes. Most of us are all dysfunctional breathers. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way that we've trained our respiratory system over years. Sure. And the fact that we trained it that way, we can also untrain it. Sure. And simply by changing from breathing in through our mouth and change that to a nasal breath. Yeah. And breathing into our chest instead of breathing into our stomach, just by changing those little tweaks, we can change the oxygenation that goes around the body, which then ultimately changes our cognitive way of thinking. Amazing. What would you say is some of the myths that people have, or I guess in a lot of the work that we do in personal professional development, NLP is certainly a reference for this. People have an association to NLP or an association to coaching, and it's not necessarily the reality. So what would you say for somebody that perhaps has already a preconception of breath work? What are the common misconceptions about what is typical and versus what you do in your practice? So first of all, because it's such a trend at the moment, breathwork, breathwork's popping up here, there, and everywhere. And as we know on social media, to get followers, get likes, and get views, there's a lot of videos going around of people in their very personal experiences. Yeah. And for some people, you could say that as far as an exorcism. Yeah. And so I get a lot of people coming to me. First of all, I get person A who says, I'm so scared because I've seen this video. I don't know what I would do if that happened to me. Sure. So that sort of put them off. And then you get the other person of actually on the opposite, person B, who says, why didn't I get that experience? I wanted that experience. Yeah. So what I always say to everybody before I start any class, especially new breathers, is that just have no expectation.
New breathers.
New breathers.
People have been breathing their entire lives, but have never breathed yet.
Yeah, I know, right? And so this is what we call them, new breathers. Yeah. And so that's exactly what I do. I always say, no matter what you hear in that room, no matter what you've seen, just trust in your breath, allow your breath to take you wherever it goes, because if you come back to the law of cause and effect, there are no mistakes. You were supposed to be in that breathwork session, you were supposed to be in that room, you're supposed to go exactly where you were supposed to go, otherwise you wouldn't have.
I've seen some practitioners, and I'm not sure if you do this as well, where they actually get people to wear like noise-cancelling headphones, and I imagine that's part of that as well, to allow people to be more present in their own experience, so they're not sort of being conscious of everybody else as well. Is that a different type of breath work, or is that just a different strategy to try to keep people, I guess, focused on their unique experience?
Yeah, exactly. And some people refer to it as 9D breath work as well.
Sure.
So we actually, in the retreats where I ran the breath work at quite recently over in Greece and Italy, in the Italy retreat, we actually used the headphones.
Must have been tough.
It was terrible. It was just hard life, it was shocking, and the sun was shining. I was doing what I love. I was taking people through an experience. It was just horrible, honestly. No, but jokes aside, there's such a difference between both. I like to mix it up, if I'm honest, because there's pros and cons, like anything. There's pros and cons to doing both.
Yes.
One thing I'd love to share on the back of the headphones experience is I played a song. I always play like a nice song at the end of my session with words in, and that's deliberate, because it's using words. You have a frame.
You're anchoring.
You're anchoring back in. That's exactly it. You're bringing them back to the present moment, wherever they've been, wherever they've gone. We're bringing them back to themselves, and we use words in songs to do that. And we play this beautiful song at the end. And because everyone had headphones on, they couldn't hear the person next to them. And there was a hell of a lot of people in this room. And at the last song, because it was such an easy verse to be able to understand, even those people who didn't know the song, everybody started singing.
Oh, beautiful.
And so because I still had my headphones on with my mic, I couldn't hear it. And the other support were doing this, and I'm going like this, I'm going, what? And they're like, pull your headphones off. So I lifted my headphones off, and then I just heard everybody
fantastic.
Singing. And obviously no one knew that they were doing that. And it was just super powerful. It was beautiful.
Oh, gorgeous. Fantastic. Now, we've got a breathwork certification course coming up, which I'm so excited to partner with you on. We've been talking about this forever and a day. So talk a little bit about what someone can expect from that. We're going to do 4 incredible weeks, 8 sessions. We're going to talk about breathwork and give people some of the skills and tools and strategies to incorporate that for themselves personally and professionally. So give me a bit of an introduction to what that looks like, what you're excited to share.
Yeah, I'm also super excited for this, and it has been a long time in the making. And again, divine timing. It was exactly how it was supposed to be. And so over the 4 weeks, like you said, there's going to be 8 sessions, and it's really getting a foundational understanding of what breathwork is. And it's a certification in the foundations of breathwork too, which is super awesome and super
amazing.
Cool. Now, over those 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at the history of breath, where it originated from, why do we do it, why was it brought to the forefront, why is it now starting to be the latest fad, let's call it. And then what I want to do is also turn that on its side and actually look at it outside of a fad and a new trend. And I really want to bring back the power and the example of what was brought to us from these teachers thousands of years ago of what this practice is actually about. And it's a very sacred practice. And to be able to bring that and teach that to these people, we're going to start developing practices for people in the program as well. We're going to go through practices. Throughout the course, we're going to talk about polyvagal theory. We're going to talk about nervous system regulation, all the super important things that we need every single day.
Incredible.
When we look around in today's world, nervous systems are all over the place, and understandably as well. And so really bringing people back to that. So from week 1 to week 4, they're going to have their own practice. They're going to be in a better place, if not in a place to start regulate themselves, and then the kids around them, the family and everything, they can then serve to others and have that ripple effect. And then we're also going to do live demonstrations. They're also going to be taken through live breathwork sessions facilitated by myself as well. And then there's going to be Q&As. There's going to be demonstrations, live one-on-one demonstrations in group as well.
Sensational. Fuck, this is going to be incredible. I love it. That's going to be absolutely amazing. Well, we're very excited to launch it. We're very excited to get behind you. I think that this is going to be an incredible addition to what we're already sharing with clients around the world. And, often we tend to approach things from very much a positive psychology, mentality, mindset, neuroscience standpoint, But the more work we can do in embodiment, I think gets people into themselves and helps them cut through the chatter of their heads. You know, I've always said that we've got to move the hearts and minds of people. And sometimes we only focus on the mindset piece and we don't focus on the embodiment piece. And I think the breath is the gateway to being able to do that. So it's going to be very exciting to be able to look at that together. Talk to us a little bit about what's on the cards for you in 2026. You know, you've had an incredible year this year, traveling all over the world, doing events and seminars and workshops and keynote speaking as well. What's on the cards over the next couple of months into 2026?
Yeah, we have some big goals for 2026. Again, you know, I'm going to be going interstate. I'm going to be going international again.
Yep.
We've got some incredible programs, additional programs also being launched, you know, partnering with you. I've got another partner as well. Yep. There's just some incredible teachings, lessons, and just to, you know, when I first started this, my goal was so big that I couldn't even track it.
Yeah.
And the goal really was to get everybody consciously breathing again. And, you know, we'd have over 20,000 breaths per day in a 24-hour period, some less, some more. Yeah, around 20,000 breaths. And if we honestly, truly be honest with ourselves, how many of those breaths were we actually conscious with?
Yeah, very few.
And so if we can start bringing humanity back to a place that's never needed it more than ever right now, to a place of presence, to a place of calm, and come back to love, I think that's a beautiful legacy to be able to bring and leave.
Amazing. Fantastic. Beautiful, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Magic. Give me an example of conscious connected breath. This is the practice that you do every day, right? Before you get out of bed?
So the practice, ask that question again. So ask me what my practice is and then what we do in a breath work.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your practice versus what we do in a breath work session, for example. Like give me an example of what that actually looks like.
Yeah, awesome. So the breath practice I do in the morning is 30 breaths.
Okay.
And I just keep that very simple. You know, most people say do a minimum of 5 minutes. If you can do more, incredible. Yeah. But, you know, I tend to do, before I get out of bed, I do 30 breaths.
Okay.
And how that looks, I tend to mix it up. So on the morning, the first thing I do is I do 10 breaths. And what I do as well, which I really feel is super important, is really connect with your body when you do this breath. You know, we're not hitting the snooze button, we're not hitting the alarm, we're not staying like this. But we're actually placing a hand on your heart, placing a hand on your stomach, and really having a conscious effort to take that nasal breath in, feeling it bypass the chest, feel it as it enters your body into your stomach, really connecting with your body, feeling the stomach rise with your hand on the stomach, then naturally into the chest, and then a nice exhale through the nose as well.
Okay, so in through the nose, out through the nose, and into the belly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now, this is my breath practice, and everybody's different, okay? So I do 10 nasal breaths.
But this is obviously the best one because it's yours.
Of course it's the best one, right?
Yeah.
So I do 10 inhales through the nose and 10 exhales through the nose. The next 10, I do a double. So then I go... This is a real good fire breath. This is a really good to get you going, get you moving, get the energy circulating through the body. I've tried to do this first, and sometimes my body won't have it because it's like, no, I'm still sleepy. Yeah. So I'll do that second. I'll do 10 of them, and then I'll come back again, and I'll change from a nasal breath to an outward breath through the mouth. Gotcha. So the first 10 is in through the nose and out through the nose. The second 10 is a double inhale, and then an exhale through the mouth. Gotcha. And then the third 10 is an inhale through the nose and an exhale through the mouth.
Amazing.
Now, there's times where my daughter jumps in the bed and jumps on me and haven't quite done it before I leave, so then I might get up. You know, life is life. We all have life. Of course. So then I'll just take a moment and prioritize just going in my breathwork room that I have in my house, and I'll just sit there and I'll just make sure I do it. It literally takes minutes, because the difference on a morning when I don't do that to the mornings that I do. Sure. You know, the great saying of win the morning, win the day. A breath practice will ultimately change your morning and win your day. Incredible. Now, let's do that. We'll do it now, if that's all right. Let's do it, but before we do that, I just want to touch on the daughter piece. Obviously, as you know, I've got 2 little girls as well. I imagine there's elements of this that are completely appropriate to do with the kids, and perhaps some of the stuff that perhaps is not. But if you're a parent and you're wanting to share this, and we'll probably go through this, I would imagine, in the 4-week certification. But just give me a quick reference point. You know, yes to breath work with kids, no to breath work with kids, or maybe breath practice with kids as a year. Like, just give me a quick distinction on that. Breath practice, absolutely. Yeah, it's you're keeping in what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which is calm, it's anti-stress, it's anti-anxiety. Yeah, it's the foot on the gas. It's the foot on the brake in the car. It's calming things down. Yeah, it's the presence. Whereas when we start doing a breath work, it's the opposite. It's a sympathetic. It's the foot on the accelerator. Sure. You move and you're starting to turn everything on. Which is what you don't want to do that in front of your kids, because you know there's going to be a release there as well. Sure, gotcha. Okay, cool. Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to take you through the breath practice I do in the morning. So if you would like to close down your eyes as well, just to become as present as you can, and just notice the shoulders to relax on every exhale as well, Calvin. So place a hand on your chest and a hand on the lower part of your stomach, and then we're going to start with 10, 10, 10. So we're going to start with the first 10, which is in through your nose and out through your nose. There we go. Okay, in the second lot of 10, we're going to double inhale through the nose, just like a... And just allowing those shoulders to fall on every exhale, and just allow that release to happen on every exhale as well. We'll go 3 more of these. And then on the last lot of 10, we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And on these ones, I like just to make a little noise, a little sigh, just so it's like a full release. That's it. Any tension, any stress from the morning. And when you finish, just take your time. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Good. Again, energy in the hands, you feel it in your face.
Yeah.
Certainly wakes you up.
It certainly does. And it just gets to that level of calm.
Yeah, you get almost like a rush of blood to the head, right? More oxygenation.
And that's the double, and that's the mouth breathing as well.
Feels good.
You know, a lot of people also promote breath practice as just a nice yogic pranayama, inhale, exhale through the nose, very calm. Depends what you want to do with your morning. If you're high achievers like you and I, and you've got a morning to get into, then that's what I like, a bit of fire in there as well.
Yeah, good, man. Even still, you feel it. Phenomenal, man. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it, brother.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Excited.